Welcome to ArcisFX Live.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. So I hope some of you are having a good holiday season if you're in the United States. So we've got a few new members. Abdul, great to have you. Thank you so much for your contribution, for coming on board. That's fantastic. Also, I think we've got another new member. I'm not going to try and pronounce that, but if you can help me out, that'd be fantastic. Great to have you here. Aaron, is it? Aaron? So thank you so much. And of course, the usual crowd. High Control Alt Alpha, thanks for being here. Really appreciate the support. Didn't actually expect much participation today, given the fact that it's a bit of a quiet day. Hello, Liberty Wolf 625. Thank you for joining us. I'm just doing the rounds. I'll get to some of these comments in a little bit. Have a chilled session today, maybe finish a little bit earlier. Looking forward to the US Thanksgiving weekend, BTC crypto update as we head into December. Yeah, yes, what's December going to be like? That's the question, isn't it? Seeing as November has been one of the worst months ever, I think, in history of crypto, based on the data I've had. Perhaps the Santa rally coming for BTC crypto seems likely tied to the. Yeah. I mean, look, here's the reality, which we're going to get into. It's highly likely we're going to have a little bit of upwards movement from Bitcoin first, but that doesn't change the bearish scenario. Okay, we've had a month of loads of red candles, and we're going to get into that for sure. So very good point, Mark. Great to have you. Good morning, where you are in the world. Thank you. I think it's afternoon for me. I think I've been so busy today, I've lost track. But let's get into it. I also promised MD I would look at Teo and Zek, which we will do before we finish. But let's just have a quick look at the charts. Okay, well, that's a great start. Okay, thank you so much. Right, okay, good start from that. So I'm going to have to reload TradingView. So let's just do that again. Apologies for that. Always happens. I've got too many things open at once. Let's just load that back up. It's the usual chart chaos with me. Way too many things open at once. But let's try that again. All right, here we go. Okay, so going to what I was, let's just put this on stage. Here we go, let's do it this way. So going to what I was just saying a moment ago, in terms of what we can expect from Bitcoin. So obviously November has been a terrible month. Some figures have been, saying that it has been the biggest, the worst month for crypto ever. Now, that's all. We're going to get figures like that happening now, because as crypto gets bigger, of course, the pullbacks are going to have more of a capital impact. So obviously, when Bitcoin is like $1 and it drops to 50 cents, then it's like it's not 6 billion worth of money which is exiting the crypto market, and it's often not just about Bitcoin. And so it's been pretty significant. Now, looking at this chart, we have obviously had all of these red candles, and we've lost all of these support lines, and just having a couple of green candles, right? Some people seem to be getting excited about it. It's like, yeah, we're going to have a a Christmas rally or whatever, and we may do, but the reality is that we have broken down from these key support areas which were propping up the price action, and we've obviously there's a whole long list which we've covered that we're losing, getting candle body closes below the weekly 50 MA for the first time this cycle, having a wick below key primary trend lines which have been in place for 12 or so years. So all of these bearish signals have stacked up, which is why we haven't had a strong bounce yet. Now, we are obviously, we do want to, of course, see a move up to this area to 96, 98K, but a move up to 96 to 98K doesn't change the bearish narrative, because this is just coming up to do a bearish retest, and we have to presume, until we see something else, that this is all we're going to have. The sellers, the bears, need to just confirm that these trend lines, the POC, these major support or resistance areas, have been flipped from support to resistance before they can continue down. And right now, I mean, the bulls have really struggled to put in a bounce. I mean, look at what the bulls are capable of doing, and right now they're not showing up. And there's obviously multiple factors. There is so much going on in the world, which of course is inhibiting this. But when we put all those things together with the fact that every single cycle to date has essentially ended in December, right, or preceding December for a bear market year in 2026, like it was in 2022, in 2018, etc., then there's very little reason to see anything bullish right now for Bitcoin. Now, that's not to suggest, we don't have a bullish scenario in play potentially, right? Bitcoin can do what it wants, but this is what we're dealing with at the moment. And just to touch base with this chart, so this highlights the previous bear cycles and how time has factored in. And if we have a traditional bear cycle, this in 2026, then this is a sort of thing we might be looking at right now. Of course, I think we will have a move up to just retest some of these key levels, right? We will see that, but this is just an example. So it's probably going to be more something like that if that happens. But you can see that if the cycles repeat as they have, and this is this is underscoring that fact, then we could be coming all the way down to 49k, right? That's what we could be doing, and then at the end of the back end of 2026, there's October 2026. Then we continue on our way. And then at the end of the year, we look to, at the start of 2028, approaching the halving, we then start to break previous all-time highs, and the process repeats. Now, this isn't predictive, is just for us to orientate ourselves to the potential possibilities for Bitcoin. But right now, we're not really seeing much. Now, here's the bullish argument. So this is a hidden bullish divergence predictive. Now, this shows, this is more recent. This is just 2024 here. So this isn't a long-term chart. Had 3 hidden instances of hidden divergences pop up. Then we had a rally. Then we resetted with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or so candles. Then we had 2 hidden bullish divergences pop up. Hidden bullish divergence, of course, is a continuation pattern for upside. And then we had all of this. Now, this was our most recent run-up, which lasted a similar amount of time, about 180, 170 days, 196, 175. But this time, we have 8 instances of hidden bullish divergence popping up. So there is a narrative which allows Bitcoin to go up from here. Right. And the argument which I was making in the latest Bitcoin update video earlier in this week, and if you haven't seen it, please check it out, was the fact that ultimately we may see a shorter bear cycle, because and then the bullish further then can then resume, and a shorter bear cycle, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months, maybe just 6 months, as opposed to waiting till October or a whole year. And Bitcoin may not go down, may have a recovery first, but ultimately, what we're trying to deal with is, if we've had a tough bull year in terms of macroeconomic conditions, which we have this year, right, and then the bear market year is actually much more positive in terms of we have inflation under control, the tariff issues and everything are put to bed either through the courts striking them down or stabilization, then maybe that the macroeconomic conditions next year will be so bullish, or rather better for markets, that Bitcoin's bear market just doesn't quite make sense in that context. And then we might have a pullback, and then we just may continue on our way. And that might be Bitcoin maybe shaking its shackles off the previously clearly defined bull and bear market patterns, and still have those, but with much more volatility and much less clarity. But I do not think we are going to be, over the next few months, or certainly not into next year, breaking all-time highs. That's my opinion based on just what we're seeing at the moment, right? But there are narratives either way for these things, but it's a complicated picture, and I think it's very important that you focus on what we're seeing and all the signals which we're seeing and the cycles, because Bitcoin is a machine, which we've talked about previously. But this is the current price action, and this is kind of, this is like, so everyone is seeing this. I've seen quite some interesting language in how like Bitcoin's going for it. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Bitcoin is simply entered support, right? It's hit local support. The sellers have become exhausted. Some buyers have shown up, and we have a bit of a bounce. Now, the good thing is we have entered a macro uptrend. We have higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. And we have now, against what I thought would happen over the last couple of days, over the last few days, is we have broken above 90 and 89k, 89k being a very important line in the sand on multiple time frames, right? And now we're trying to find our feet, and we do have support of some of these moving averages, the 21 and the 50, coming in to support this. Now, I haven't flipped this to support yet, Note I haven't changed this to support yet. It is still local resistance because I haven't had confirmation of the flip. So what I want to see, of course, is how we interact with this area. And then if we do get a bounce, then that's fantastic. But these are the obstacles which Bitcoin's faces this weekend. We have this 200 MA on the 2-hour, not the most significant moving average, but nonetheless, it is there, and you can see the price action is respecting it to a degree. So the ideal bullish scenario for Bitcoin right now, bearing in mind the context of what I said, that we can go all the way up to 98K, 96, 98K, tap this area, and we still don't have a bullish narrative. It's just essentially the bearish retest of the levels we've previously watched, right? But putting that to one side, if Bitcoin can find its feet with the help of the 21 and the 50 above 89K, and then by that time the 200 MA will be a little bit more flush, then maybe we can get above it, right? And then do something like this. And then now, if we see that, excuse me, I'm just going to have to, if we see that, then that is additional confirmation that we may have some more upside, and we've moved back into this range, which is great. And we can trade that, which is fantastic. We can trade some altcoins that way, but we can't look at this area as anything other than a stop for the price action at this point, right, on the higher time frames. So what you want to be looking out for at the moment is you want to see firstly a bounce from local resistance. Specifically, we don't want to go below 89K again, right? And then the next line in the sand, of course, is to stay above the 21 and the 50 and then get above this moving average. And this is just a 2-hour, so you need to look at the multi-time frame, of course, as well. But this is the most relevant time frame, I think, at the moment for Bitcoin's current price action. And then if we come back down to local resistance again, excuse me, what will hopefully then be local support made up of 1989K, then we would have had the move from an uptrend, the retaking of a level of an area 89K, 90K, which has been lost. We've then taken back a moving average, a relatively insignificant, but nonetheless a moving average. And then we are on the flip side and we flip that level. And then we have this range to play with, right? And that's good. Then we've got a bullish narrative. So anyone who's thinking about a Christmas rally, then maybe this is what it looks like, right? And of course, Bitcoin isn't just going to be like this chart's all got a bit weird again, excuse me, sorry for that, but Bitcoin's not going to be like precisely retesting this area, this POC and this moving average, right? So it may just pop its head above it very slightly before and form a bull trap and then come back down. So it may appear to be trying to take some of these key levels it's lost on higher time frames, which are very significant, but then it'll just come back down again. And that's Bitcoin. So I'm not seeing anything yet that gives us a real bullish narrative. Now, of course, here's the reality. You know, the markets have been depressed as a result of all of the uncertainty this year. And if that goes away, then of course there is a narrative where Bitcoin can just go through retake all these levels, shake off some of the very significant bearish signals which we've had by compensating for them with extremely bullish moves. As an example, Bitcoin's 50 weekly 50 MA candle body close will need something pretty impressive for traders to ignore it in a bearish context. So what I mean is if Bitcoin, for example, blasts all the way back up to 125K, puts in all new highs, then we can ignore that bearish candle body close on the weekly 50 as a bear trap and just continue on our way. But the reality is that that's the sort of thing which we need to see in order to offset a lot of these bearish signals, including, I'm sure I can't get it right now, including, got so many charts, it's absolutely ridiculous. Let's see if I can find the long term. Yeah, including this wick, right? So this wick, the first wick we've had below this line since March 2013. You can argue its significance, right? This line is based on 2 points down here, but that's all we need to form a trend line, and it has been respected previously. But this is the issue. What is going to offset this wick, which we now have, right, in the minds of investors, in the minds of funds, right? What's going to offset that? A move higher. Essentially, that's what it is, a move higher, right? A long wick reversal and a move higher. But we need to, this is the candle we want to pay attention to in December, certainly, because if we get a candle body close in December below this line, which would equal, well, just broadly speaking, it would mean the price action has to be around 89K or below for that to happen. But I'm seeing that's most likely to happen at the moment. So this is the situation we've got at the moment, and it's pretty it's pretty dire, if I must say, with Bitcoin, but not in a way like it's like, oh my God, we're going to zero. It's just we've had the bull cycle. The argument is we've had the bull cycle. It's been a long bull cycle. It's been an extended bull cycle for 2.5 years, and we've had some fantastic gains. And we can talk about altcoin season in the coming weeks, because that seems prime to give us some love, right? So there's a dissonance here between Bitcoin and the altcoins, which haven't had their movement. But so there's a narrative there. But ultimately, we have to look at Bitcoin cycles. We have to look at all of the signals we're getting. And right now, I mean, if this was a court case and I was making a case for the bears, I would win. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct or predictive of what's happening in the future. But when we look at all the evidence and we have a long list of things which are giving us bearish signals, as well as historical precedent, right, then it's bear time. It's bear time, right? And then we look at the rest of the market. So it's a very confusing picture. But I think but here's the thing, right? Here is the thing. Just like with where is it? Just like with this chart, and that's not the chart. Start your timers. Now, so in the group, there was a question earlier in the week about my feelings about Bitcoin's price action when it was essentially here. All right. So, my very quick response was, well, we need to, if you get a break of the 50, then that's confirmation we're coming down. But the reality was that the probabilities are that we're going to revisit local support, and that would be great to potentially form this double bottom. But then Bitcoin doesn't do that, right? It doesn't do that at all, and it moves up to the next level. But of course, what I originally said in the group, if we get a confirmed candle body close below the 50, then it'll be coming down. But we didn't get that, so it's the same analysis, and the analysis was fine. But for me, Bitcoin loves to upend things. Right, it really does. But just because it's popped its head above 89k right now with not particularly impressive volume, I remain skeptical. But this is what we need to watch for. And if we do get above the 200 MA on this time frame, that'll be another good flip. And if we do manage to hold above local, say we make it through the Thanksgiving weekend above 89k, I'll start changing my tune. I will. Right, but it doesn't change the fact that that tune is still bearish, because until we get back above 98k or 100k with some significant moves, it's not offsetting the bearish sentiment, and that's the reality of it. So that's the general take. I think James is around. Hey, old James here. Excellent cautionary analysis. That's a very polite way of putting it. Yeah. Yes, I am very cautionary, because we are dealing with volatile assets here. So I am very cautionary. I think probably if you look at James's analysis and my analysis, and you put the two together, you've probably got a fairer, more reasonable, predictive potentially. Let's have a look for the comments. Lucky, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Very surprised by the interactions. Actually, I know everyone's busy today. I don't think I'll answer that question for James. But what we do know is that, of course, James is back on the channel, and we're all very happy about it. And if you haven't already checked out his tech video today, which he released earlier, please do. It's a really great video. I've already watched it, already picked up some tips myself. So please check that out. I'll just check what the title is, so I can tell you. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving Rally Rattles Resistance. Check that out. It's a really good video. It's 30 minutes long as well, so we've got some decent value coming for that. So check that video out, please. I will get into that, but I don't think MD's here, which is unfortunate, but I'm going to look at Teo and Zek in a second. If there's anything you want me to have a look at, or you've got any specific questions, please, of course, let me know. And I apologize for this state. I seem very disheveled today. I've been doing some work on the house, putting up a mirror, which is very stressful, because I'm not superstitious, but I'm not breaking a mirror, right? So, you got to take your time with it. But anyway, let's have a look at, let's see if we can find Teo and see what it's doing. In fact, let's load up a blank chart. Hang on, let me just shut some charts down, because I think we are getting a little bit overloaded. So let's just put goat away, put goat in the barn. We can close that down. SEI. Oh yeah, B is doing really well, by the way. Congratulations if you traded this. This was a group exclusive setup. B, we've got two setups for B at the moment, but this one did pretty well. Not the easiest one to trade, if I'm honest, but we had some 19% gains following this. So that was a nice little setup. I can close that down as well. IU's not doing very well, so we can say bye to that. Right, let's have a look. So Teo, let's load up Teo and see what we got. No, I said I was going to do a blank chart, didn't I? So let's have a look at a blank chart. Thank you very much, Teo. Right, let's have a look. So MD, whenever you see this is for you, my friend. Okay, so let me just have a sip of coffee and just soak up this. So you guys have a look at this chart. What do you see? Where's the trading opportunity? I can see it already. Can you? So let's have a look. Let's put some horizontal lines on. There is a definite triangle here in play. Okay, so let's just do that, just very broadly speaking. Okay, looks like we may have a breakout in progress. Let's just put some lines on. So if you're always interested in how I create the charts, it usually just starts off with a bit of a frantic, just running through it. I should really start on the daily. That's really what I tend to do. So just get the key levels all sorted. I mean, any asset, just load it up and practice doing this, right? And just because, finding trading opportunities is a great skill to have. And we have a combination of people in our group, which some of which are very independent, some of which prefer just very busy people and just prefer kind of like, hey, this is a good place to buy, and then they just do it. But the reality is, to be a sustainable trader, you need, of course, to be able to get good at charting. So let's just zoom in a little bit to the 12-hour. I didn't get around to do. We had me and James did a stream. I'm saying a lot. I just did it again. When I first started teaching, like my very first couple of lessons as a newbie teacher were racked with me saying things like, okay, every other minute. And it was something which took a lot of effort to try and deal with. And I feel like on these live streams, is the word I need to get rid of, because it's just, oh, this is nice, bump and run, maybe something like that. I can't remember. Here we go. Okay, so now we've got kind of at the lay of the land. I'm not going to put anything else on. We're going to zoom in a little bit now. And if you do see this, MD, after the fact, drop us a comment in the live stream. So let's just put this on so everyone paying attention can see what we're doing. And let's have a look of what Tahoe is doing. I just honestly, I don't know how to pronounce these things. I don't really care. I just want to trade it. So let's have a look. Okay, now let's just see if there's any moving averages, because these are very relevant to these sorts of patterns. I love trading these patterns. I made a lot of money off these patterns, and they're really, really good and very manageable. So what we got a 21 crossing the 50. Let's get rid of that, and that's not really relevant right now. So I only want the relevant ones. 80, 100. Sorry, 80 and 100. I don't mean to dismiss you to irrelevancy, but that's just the way it goes. Right. Okay, so did you guys spot this trading opportunity before the chart was made? Wow, I did. So here we go. So let's have a look at other possibilities for this trade. Let me just find my position tool. And here we go. Right, so the moving average is up here. Now the 4-hour 200 MA is where the 200 MA starts to have some teeth. So let's just be respectful of it and not have too much of a higher profit. So we've got a lovely little area where we can put our stop loss. Really nice risk reward ratio. Loving it already. Okay, so what's the premise of this trade? Now we're going to ignore Bitcoin for a minute, but this needs to line up with Bitcoin. So let's just have another gander at where we are, big picture. So this looks like this line here. This looks like, there we go. So this is the bullish fun zone, and this is the oh no, we're going to hell zone. Right, there's the crash in October. So this is a very significant support line, and when I see a significant support line, I like to make sure everybody knows about it. And there it is. Okay, so we have nice support below us. That's the key thing. We want nice support below us because that motivates bulls to come in here. If major support was like down here at around $200, then of course people may wait for it to descend to that level. But this is pretty decent support. So you're going to look for some people to come in here, and you can see we've had a nice bounce from here. So how do we trade this? Okay, so firstly, first entry position we could have on this is exactly where we are, really, in this nice little pocket here, which we are. So because ultimately what's going to happen now, we're either going to go up, right, because that's what it has to do, and we've got 50 and the 21 acting as support, or we're going to break lower and retest this, and then we're going to stuck below here, and that's not what we want. So it's manageable, because even if it goes to the downside, even if we lose this diagonal trend line, then the beauty of these rising diagonal trend lines is that when we get the move down and sellers want to check its flip from support to resistance, you'll notice that it will have to come up because of the ascending line to a higher price point, giving you many options to get out at either no loss or slightly in profit. So this is why I like trading these patterns, because in terms of risk management, it is totally manageable. You can deal with it, right? So Teo right now, MD, wherever you are, eating turkey or whatever, I don't know what you do or celebrate, then it's in a good place right now to buy. And remember, a good place to buy isn't like at support necessarily. It is a good place to buy is where it is manageable to enter, right? On the presumption that it will go wrong. Okay, now bearing in mind Bitcoin is, it's broken above into a new range, but it hasn't found its feet yet, and there's still the probabilities that it's going to retrace, which will pull the market down, right? So you want to be looking at 89K for Bitcoin and make sure it maintains that level. So you might want to wait to see if Bitcoin can find its feet with maybe a double bottom or something like that, or moving above that moving average we were talking about. And then if we can see Bitcoin remaining bullish, then this is a trade you can enter. I would question entering it right now. And unfortunately, this is the thing where we need to have Bitcoin lined up with the market. But, there is a play here, but that's Teo, really straight point. And it looks like the best ideal entry is around between 304 and 307, which is where we are now. But just bear in mind, of course, this will sink down if Bitcoin pulls it down. But because we've got support confluence, then that's pretty decent. And there is this also, we've got pattern confluence as well. Now I know I've put this, we've also got this ascending triangle, which we've broken out of as well, right? So there's lots of areas where there could be a little bit of a bounce as well to help you exit a trade if it goes wrong. So lots of good things right now. And I may actually talk about this tomorrow in altcoin gems. And yes, just to talk about that for a minute, but that's Teo. But just to talk about the altcoin gems for a minute, we're moving the altcoin gems to Friday. And we're going to do the live stream on Thursday, as altcoin gems needs a little bit of a helping hand, and it needs the weekend because it's really on the front line of what we're trying to do with the algorithm at the moment, right? So if you do like altcoin setups and so forth, please make sure you check out that video, and liking it and commenting and sharing even on your socials is really helpful. But yeah, so that's Teo, a really good setup. Let's have a quick look at ZEC as well. Blah 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 blah. Let's have a look at ZEC. Where are we? Trading view. I was looking at ZEC today. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. I was looking at ZEC today for some of my students. Okay, so this is easier now, right? Okay, so we have been looking at short setups for ZEC, which seems a bit counterintuitive considering it's one of the best performing cryptos of this cycle, Zcash. And there's a lot of talk even about nonsense talk in my mind that ZEC is going to be the new Bitcoin, and it's just like, okay, no. But nonetheless, it is a crypto to pay attention to, and it's great. It's totally great. But what comes up must come down. We've got a higher high here, a lower high, a lower high. So we have some bearish setups. If you look at some of the old videos from a couple of weeks ago, you'll see some short plays for ZEC. Now, this also could be a short play for ZEC because this is a symmetrical triangle. And as I was telling my students earlier today, obviously, if we get a break to the upside here, then that's bullish confirmation, but we've got all these order blocks. But so if we get a break to the upside, we can probably take out the 200 MA as well and then come back down and go from here. But that's not what's happening right now. So ZEC looks like we are breaking down out of this pattern, not the most significant pattern, right? So it doesn't hold as much water as it may visually look like. You can see we've had the touches, but this area hasn't quite been formed yet, and we are running into some order blocks. So it's a bit of a confusing picture for ZEC. So what I was saying this morning was, for ZEC, ultimately, our first signal that we might be coming lower, you'll notice a target down here, okay? ZEC might be coming lower is obviously we've lost its moving averages. We've got indications from the trend that it's weakening, and this could be described as a bear pennant of sorts, although I wouldn't label it that, but technically speaking, you could say that. But what I would say that even though on the flip side, if we get a breakout on this side, we want to wait for a move above the 200 MA, and we want it to come down and then go up from here. But likewise, on the flip side, we really want to also pay attention to this level. So we're getting a signal now to pay attention for a potential short setup for ZEC. But because it's a really bullish token, and a lot of people are looking to essentially scoop it up. And if Bitcoin does move up from here, ZEC will probably come up into this area a little bit more, or certainly come up to test this. So we might have some confusing price action. But you can say to yourself, and here's this cautionary approach again, watch how we interact now with this trend line. And ideally, if we see something like this, there's your entrance, right? There's your entrance, because we're losing essentially local support, right? This is local support, but we've also got tap here as well. So that's the way I would play it. The move below this symmetrical triangle is not significant enough to act on just yet, especially not knowing there's some order blocks here as well, because this, of course, this is local support right here. So this is our signal to pay attention, right? And get ready for a potential short, right? And if Bitcoin continues to be bearish and it heads down from here, then it's going to help ZEC for sure. Even though, bearing in mind, of course, Zcash has been outpacing Bitcoin very significantly, and it has depegged to a degree, but nonetheless, we've had a good run. And if we do enter a bear year, then ZEC is going to give us a shorting opportunity for sure, right? So it'll essentially, we've had a first signal. We're going to wait for this area here around what looks like to be 470 to break, and then you can look to enter, and then you'll start seeing some red order blocks creep downwards, right, and start appearing here where the green order block is, and then we've got something to trade. But obviously, shorting one of the most bullish assets in crypto at the moment requires layers of confirmation and probably smaller position sizes, and also very, very certainly paying attention to Bitcoin, because bear in mind, of course, look, there is a wick down here as well, which has formed this order block. So, but what we're going to see, of course, is as it moves lower, less buyers will be willing to show up here. They'll change their positions, and we'll start having a red order block here. But we're not out of the woods yet. But look at it. We are moving down. We have lost this moving average, but do some multi-time frame analysis as well. But let's just switch to the daily, and let's just see what's happening with the daily. Yeah, so we've lost the daily as well, right? So you look at this chart, it's looking a little bit more bearish, right, with a clearly defined top of sorts. But of course, there is a line here which needs to be thought after. But the key thing is that it looks like we're coming down. I mean, look at this chart. This area looks pretty good. But that is ZEC, essentially. And let me just switch that back to the 2-hour chart. Right, now let's just have a look at Ethereum. Right, so this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin daily. Right now, this is where, and the reason why I'm showing you this is it's a really good barometer for the health of the altcoin market, along with total 2, 3, etc. Now, we had Ethereum was since July was outpacing Bitcoin, and that's when we had some pretty good altcoin movement. That's what really kicked off ZEC's movement as well. But now we've been in this channel, and we're arriving at support. And essentially, if we want to see a signal that altcoins are going to have some love over the next few weeks or months, we need to see a break. We just need to see a break. Now, that's not to say that other altcoins won't be moving, but ultimately, if you look at Bitcoin as the king and Ethereum as the queen, the reality is that if Ethereum starts to outpace Bitcoin, that money, that movement will start to cascade down to the other altcoins. So this is another signal you can trade off. So right now, we need to be paying attention to this level. But if Ethereum does not break out and we do lose this support, you can see it's pretty significant right here, pretty significant resistance previously and support here. So if we do move down from here, that would be a signal that maybe again, the bearish sentiment is also spreading to the altcoin market, despite the altcoins having a lot of headroom as well going forward. And let's see what else we got to have a look at. So this is ton USDT. Actually, it's not USD, it's USDT, but potato, right? And this also has entered a support zone. Let's just double check. Yeah, so this is the area which we've now entered, which has previously been kind of where we've had a launching pad from. It's a little bit ambiguous, but you can see we're coming down and we've got a channel and we've come here and we're having a breakout, and there's about to be a 2150 cross. So again, this will be the sort of play we were talking about earlier, where you just wait for a retest of support following a bullish confirmation of the channel, and then that might be a play for ton and maybe a tight stop loss as well. But because we haven't really had, ideally, I mean, all these moving averages are not helping things, but we have a few options coming up. So say, for example, Bitcoin comes back down to 89K, forms a bottom, then we can start to look at entering some of these positions. But I would be very cautious as well. Here's AVAX, again, similar sort of deal, waiting for a move, waiting for a breakout, but no one's really committing just yet because we need to see more from Bitcoin. And this is the key thing. Looking at these altcoin setups aren't just giving us an insight into AVAX, to Teo or ZEC or any of these things. They're also giving us an insight into the sentiment of the market, because why hasn't AVAX broken out yet? I might do it in the next 2 minutes and just make me look like an idiot, right? But why hasn't AVAX broken out yet? Why hasn't it done that? Why are all these still stuck in their pattern? Why hasn't Ethereum? Because the reality is we haven't seen enough from Bitcoin yet. But what you will see is if Bitcoin can do what we just talked about, get over this moving average, get on the flip side and form a reversal pattern above 88K, 89K and not dip below it, then we'll start seeing some of those movements. So in crypto, this is the key, right? You never just want to have your Dogecoin chart or your Teo chart or your ZEC chart. You need to have a Bitcoin chart, and you need to be trying to get them to line up, because ultimately it doesn't matter how good the setup is. Right? If Bitcoin comes down, and it is cooking to a degree, right? If Bitcoin comes down, then we're going to have problems. And let's just do a multi-time frame just for a minute, and just have a quick look. Let's do a multi-time frame on the fly, because I've got so many charts to do for everybody. I found so many little setups which I want to show to people, but it's stacking up, if you excuse pun. Let's have a look. Okay, so multi-time frame. So let's just do it as a 4 quadrants for now, just to keep it swift. So let's have a look at the 1 hour. No, let's just do the 4 hour, 4 hour, 12 hour. No, let's do it something. Let's do the 1 hour. All right, let's do the 2 hour. I'll change my mind again. I usually do like 8 quadrants. So, and let's do the 12 hour here, and then the daily, right? And let's just see what we see with this perspective. Okay, here we go. Let's just get it all lined up. Okay, so here we go. Just get it all nice and lined up, so we can get kind of an idea of what we're actually looking at and dealing with here. Oh, excuse me. Right, here we go. Right, just want to get the picture so we can all kind of see what we're dealing with here, right? Right, so huge downtrend. We've had a bounce, and we haven't yet surpassed on the 1 hour chart this swing high, right? So that is definitely something, and that's essentially 93k, 94, which is obviously another mid-level resistance, right? And we haven't got above that, right? And you see that all the way down here, right? We lose key levels, right? We don't surpass these highs, right? And we just keep going down. And if you look, the pattern repeats here. So look, there's the line, right? Here's the line, right? And we're not going to have any bullish further until we start crossing these lines, right? And retaking lost ground. We're not there yet, right? This looks like it could just roll over, right? And we can look at all the little nuances of the lower time frames to try and find a bullish idea, but this is the reality of it, right? And again, look, if this is 93k here, we've got to get above it, right? We've got to get above it, right? And then we've got, so so we're not bullish yet at all. And when we look at this, I mean, this is terrible. This is nothing. This is not a strong bounce. This is a tiny little bounce, right? And if we look at this, right, we've got to get above this, right? Look at all this. This is the area we've got to get above, and we're nowhere. This is like a hand coming up from the ocean saying, "Please, I'm drowning, save me." That's what it is right now. Okay, that doesn't mean it won't develop into something else, but let's just get some perspective, right? And here we go. So what is yeah, there we go. And you can see this. I don't know why I'm using this tool as opposed to horizontal. I mean, look, it's just a bearish retest, right? This is what it is. This is the daily chart. It's just a bearish retest. There's not anything bullish happening right now. Now let's just look for some divergence, which is a good indicator, right? Okay, so nothing right now on the daily. Let's have a look now on here. You're getting an insight into my process now, for sure, right? My grumpy process, no divergence here. Maybe some bearish divergence popping up on here. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, 6 instances of divergence have popped up here overhead. Let's have a quick look at this one and see if there's just these divergences. Yeah, and there's some here as well, right? So look, this isn't a rosy picture right now. And so this is a little bit messy, but it's not a rosy picture at all for Bitcoin. But there are some higher time frame narratives, as we've discussed. There are some bearish narratives which need to look at. This is a bit extreme, if I'm honest, right? So, and let's just flip through. Let's get rid of that one. That's just completely gone now. But again, look, this is XRP. We've been waiting for XRP to get back above here and to move upwards, right? And look, we haven't, this line on the RSI following this triple bottom hasn't been broken yet, right? Why are people not entering the market? Why are people not buying XRP right now, right? They could so easily get back into a bullish space because Bitcoin's bearish. That's it. Bitcoin's bearish. That's the reality. But the rest of the market, of course, is bearish. And I mean, look at this. Like here again, here's a 50, right? We've lost it, right? We've lost it. It's gone. It's done, right? And this was since the start of the bull run. So when someone comes up to me and says, "Paul, when do I take profits from this bull run? When do I take profits?" And then I'll say to them, when you see a change in the trend, right? Now we haven't quite theoretically had that yet, because you can see this is still above this swing low, right? But we have lost a key moving average for the first time since the start of the cycle. That is a take profit signal. That's a take 40% of your position out of the market signal, right? We then have, we have all of these, we have this cloud predictive, which has been completely invalidated. And this cloud predictive was a process to help us ascertain the next bullish move up. And look, we've lost the premise. We're now bearishly retesting the cloud, right? That again takes some money off the market, right? This is the conversation. And again, we've had a wick below this trend line for the first time in 12 years. Why are you staying in the market? Right? That's what I would say to people. Why? Because I've been there. The last bull cycle, I was looking at my portfolio in way into six figures, right? Way into six figures. And I was looking at my portfolio and not as experienced as I am now. And when I did start taking money, it wasn't at the top. It wasn't at the top, right? And I had an element of that, oh, it's going to keep going up and therefore, and I hadn't quite got my strategy nailed down. Whereas now I know exactly what I need to be doing, right? And I just you've got to trade off these signals. You can't trade off someone's opinion. You can't trade off a tweet. You can't trade off a hope. You can't, right? I mean, I will have, my investments will be struggling if we enter a bear market, but this is the reality of what we're facing. But it doesn't necessarily have to be bearish in terms of the whole market. There could be a decoupling. Now, if I try and find my altcoin others chart, I can highlight what I'm talking about. And I've been working very hard to label all of these. There it is, perfectly found in 1 second. There we go. So we look at this chart and you hear me talking about bear markets. You're like, Paul, what are you talking about? Right? Look at this. Altcoins are at the bottom, right? They're about to make their move. And I'm like, yeah, this is the paradox, right? This is the bias at the moment. This is the cognitive bias at the moment. It doesn't quite make sense. And all we know is that we've had an extended bull cycle. We haven't had any altcoin love. Something is afoot. Something is different to what it has been before, right? That's what we know. So when I say to you that, the bear market is on track to repeat because everything is lining up exactly as before, that is true. But we also have to acknowledge that we're seeing signals which we also haven't seen before. We're seeing an altcoin market which hasn't had its proper altcoin season yet. And you can see the launching point is always this line. And we've only just tapped it in the October crash, right? And we've got all this upside ahead. Does this chart guarantee that altcoins are going to go up and not break down? No, it doesn't. It does not. And it's difficult for me to see how altcoins are going to have all of this move if Bitcoin isn't ascending to all new heights. It's difficult for me to see that. But if Bitcoin dips down maybe to 78, 73, something, I don't know, whatever, like that, or even further, maybe let's say, I can't remember the exact levels, but 73, let me find the exact levels because we're here for precision, right? So yeah, so 75k, just bring up this little chart here. Okay, so if we see something like this, right, and bearing in mind that this is sort of May 2026, right? If we see a kind of repeat of 2023 and Bitcoin just, we have a period of just ranging between 70 and 95. If Bitcoin stabilizes and just consolidates, altcoins can run, right? That can happen. We need Bitcoin to be either bullish, as in ascending to all new heights and in a strong uptrend for altcoins to do well, or we need Bitcoin to be sitting pretty with a bullish posture, having shaken off kind of bearish fervor and finding its feet and then just establishing itself over a period of months before it moves higher. Now, that would allow altcoins to maybe go, because people then, if we have improved economic conditions in the new year and Bitcoin is just not dipping to like worst case scenario 49k and it's just sitting maybe above 75, maybe 69k, we could dip down there, which is the previous bull and all-time high. That makes sense. And it just ranges and it just consolidates, then that's good. Altcoins could run. They could do that, right? Because altcoins just need Bitcoin to be stable, right? But we're not in that place yet. So there is a possibility that we could have this extended bull run leading to, hi Lola, good to see you, an extended bull run leading into 2026. Bitcoin is much calmer, much more sedate, with a slightly kind of bearish feel for the first couple of months, but then it finds its feet maybe in the second quarter. And then the altcoins start to have some love, right? On the back of some news out of the United States in terms of regulation, all these kind of things. So something is different. right? And I don't think we're going to see a classic bear market, and I don't think we're going to see either necessarily the next run up. I don't think that's going to happen either. But we obviously, that could happen, but when is it going to happen? And if you step back and you unplug from all of the news, all of the excitement about crypto and Bitcoin and digital gold, and just look at it as a chart and what we know about TA, market cycles, and just look at it. And the answer is very clear, right? The answer is very clear. But the other side of it, and there's another little voice in my head which is saying this: Bitcoin is a fun asset to trade because it upends expectations all of the time. It typically will do what you least expect it to do, and that is the truth and the reality that some bulls are still clinging to, right? And they may be right, but as a trader, I trade off confirmation. I trade off signals, right? And right now, as I said, the court case, we're having bearish signals. So that's the deal. But let me just have a sip of coffee while we hear from our good friend and mortal leader, James.
Hi there, I'm James. I'm the founder of ArcisFX. I'd like to personally invite you to join our 24/7 trading group. This is built for traders who want an edge. Inside, you'll get access to live calls on Forex, commodities, crypto, energies, and metals, along with exclusive daily analysis designed to unlock your trading potential. And this in both traditional and now in digital markets. I'm talking Bitcoin, crypto, altcoins, and tethered currencies. You'll gain early access to insider news, real-time updates, real-time support, and premium educational content. If you want to sharpen your skills and boost your success rate, then join me and Paul in this community. This is a fast-growing community of traders who are now writing their own success stories. So don't wait. Join up now. Your edge starts right here.
Okay, fantastic. So just going to look at SDRK just for a second, and then we're going to finish. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I hope everyone's having a good, probably relaxed weekend, because obviously when there's a holiday weekend in the United States, wherever you are in the world, of course, trading is going to be a bit sedate. But again, what I would say to you with Bitcoin is just try and be rational. If you do get a move up, that's a confirmation signal. That's fantastic. Then trade off it. But don't trade off hope. We haven't had the signals we need yet, so just wait for them before you start entering your trades. And there are good setups. And here's an example of one. SDRK is currently, as an example, as we had a breakout, which is great. This was the trading premise to ideal buy the retest, but unfortunately, Bitcoin has been very unhelpful this month, and we are now retesting the 200 MA, right? And this is a good retrace, and we're very low down, very low average price to come in here. So if we do get a signal from Bitcoin, SDRK, like some of the other altcoins we looked at, is in a pretty good position to come up from here, right? But you want to be looking at assets which have given significant bullish signals, because when there's a bearish conditions in the market, not everything's going to go, and people are going to be very selective about what they trade, just like me and James are, right? So I will be looking at an asset which has given us already a breakout signal and has had a significant retrace and is now retesting a significant moving average, and seems to be just waiting for Bitcoin to go. Those are the sort of things that I want to be looking for to trade. Those are the things you should be trading, right? That's the most important thing, right? It doesn't mean it's not going to go down from here, but this is a manageable trade, and this is the sort of thing you'll be looking at. Tomorrow, we've got obviously got altcoin gems. We'll have 5 new setups for you to trade off, and of course, you can access those charts, so you don't have to do all the work. But let's talk very briefly about let me just find a nice, interesting chart. Let's just leave Bitcoin on. And let's just talk about Black Friday just for a second. And again, I'm so sorry for the state of my hair. It's absolutely ridiculous. I do need a haircut. So, ArcisFX. If you like the content we provide, either from me or James or both, and it's okay to like one of the others, right? Or none at all. But if you are interested in getting more insights, more charts like this on a 24-hour basis, you could think about joining our private group. Now, our private group is very reasonably priced. It's tremendous value, and you'll earn it back, the cost of the group, very quickly. Most of our traders do. That's why we have very high retention. But ultimately, if you want to jump in and get your cheap TV this weekend, it's the time to do it, right? Because ultimately, we have got some offers. Now, the offer we are offering is ultimately, we are putting a 50% discount on 2 of our courses, which is the Trader's Blueprint. I have to just double check, but we are offering 50% off those courses, right? Which is already a steal, right? And you don't have to be fighting over it like you would be over certain in maybe in Costco or whatever at Black Friday. You can, from the comfort of your own home, you can get 50% off one of these courses. And this is the thing, with the 50% off those courses, if you buy one of those courses, guess what? You get to try the private group out for free for a month. So you can have a look, see if it's for you, see if you like it, see if it works for you, right? And then if you like it, then of course we'll love you to stay with us and subscribe as a regular member. But if you are curious about the group and you are curious about, because there's so many more charts, like altcoin gems as an example tomorrow, there's just 5 setups, but there's so many more in the group, and there's so much more information, news and insights from me and James. James gives live calls every day, all kinds of stuff. And we also have exclusive content for members, which is increasing and growing as well, not just on YouTube, but also in the private group. So if you fancy learning to trade, then of course you can get 50% off some of our courses. And with that comes the ability to peek in the group for a month, have a look around and see if you like it. It's not our way of trapping you, it's our way of inviting you. So those are the offers, and we'll be blasting those out across the channel, so pay attention to that. Of course, maybe there'll be a link in this description a bit later, I'm not quite sure, but that will be happening, so pay attention to that. We always like to give some really good deals on Black Friday to support you, and of course to keep the doors open for people who are interested in becoming more profitable and sustainable traders. But that's it, I think, for now from me. I'm going to let all of you go away, eat some turkey, or feel sick because you've eaten too much chocolate or whatever you do on Thanksgiving. And I'll be back tomorrow with altcoin gems. And also, James will not be depriving you of content this weekend as well. He's always around on Sundays for his live stream. So check that out. It's always really exciting, lots of great content. So we can see what the markets are doing over this weekend. Now, be cautious this weekend, just because we may have some upwards movement, of course, when no one's paying attention, doesn't mean it's going to be sustainable. Again, I am being grumpy. And of course, if Bitcoin does start coming to life, then of course, I'll be promoting good trading opportunities in support of that. But just be cautious while you can. But that's it for now. Thank you so much. Look out for those deals. And thank you for everyone for joining us. And of course, all of the new members we've had this week. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate the support. And again, check out altcoin gems tomorrow. Have a great time. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you. Take care for now.